Today, we're going to review a brand new dive torch, the OrcaTorch ORCA7. And let me tell you, this small dive torch has more than a few surprises. Worth noting that out of the box, it comes with two batteries. I do have a sample model, so this is kind of more of pre-product, and so I only got one battery, but I do believe it comes with two batteries. And what's neat about this battery is this one of these standard USB 7 21,700 battery, 3.6 volts and 18 watt hours. And it's all nicely labeled, so if you're traveling, no problem. The insides are fairly straightforward. It has two O-rings and it's very well machined. It's pretty obvious on which way the battery goes in. The plus side is up and it's pretty clean to just put the head on, and it screws in really nicely. The whole thing is about 130 millimeters or 5.1 inches long, weighing in about 125 or 4.41 ounces in weight, or 200 grams or 7.05 ounces in weight with the battery in. And you can see I've already dented up this thing. It is very nicely machined, and there's a nice grip here and it has a nice tactile feel to it, especially with dry gloves on, so that is nice. Everything here is nice and grippy. I have to say, even with gloves on, this works quite well. I do want to point out that there's no real mounting, so this is definitely designed to be used either in hand or a soft grip Goodman handle. And truly, this has got to be one of the lightest torches I have. It really feels nice, and so I kind of have a good idea of what this could be good for, but we'll get to that. Its level of lightness is truly outstanding. It is aluminum torch, and after some dives, you can kind of see there is some wear and tear. So, with this nice coloring, which, oh, by the way, it comes in 5 different colors, and that's good, but with scuba diving, it's not necessarily gentle with equipment, so you will start seeing some wear and tear on your dive torch after so many dives, and you can definitely see that with this one after I put it through all my dives to test it out. This thing comes with 3 different modes. It comes with the low, the high, and SOS mode, and you always have to cycle through these. And so you can kind of see it go through the full SOS mode. It could be used to get someone's attention, potentially at a distance, or maybe a boat at the surface. And then it goes off. So you always have to cycle through all those 3 modes. But it also has a nice feature. So if you wanted to stow this in a pocket, or just make sure that you can put it somewhere where it doesn't automatically turn on, if you push and hold it for 5 seconds, it will go into this standby mode. It'll give 2 blinks like that and basically show you this green light. And so whenever you push it again, it's now locked. So if this were to be pressed in your pocket, no problem. So you can kind of see that the lock is on. It's not turning on, but no problem. All you have to do is double click it or double push it. And then it gives the 2 lights to indicate, hey, the lock is off. It does turn off, so it doesn't automatically go on. All you have to do then is it goes just back into its normal mode. So you can then cycle through all the different modes from there. No problem. And if you're enjoying this video, now's a great time to like and subscribe and all that YouTube jazz. If you're finding this review or this channel helpful, it really helps to share it with other divers. I post weekly content to help divers grow their skills, build confidence, and explore the ocean with curiosity and care. And if you're looking to stay up on the latest and greatest scuba industry, potentially even new releases on dive gear that I couldn't cover, check out my newsletter in the description below. It's free and I send them out monthly. See you there. So at the lowest mode, it goes to 800 lumens. And then at the highest mode, this is 3000 lumens. That's pretty bright. And then the SOS mode runs about 500 lumens. And as mentioned, the battery, you can just go ahead and connect a USB charger, so there's no proprietary charger that comes with the system. You just can charge it with any USB-C cord, and so that's convenient. And in terms of battery levels on the dive, you should be able to see here that there is a light here on the switch. It's kind of hard to see as I was diving. It's not that easy. If you twist it just a little bit the wrong way, it becomes hard to see. But you can kind of see here that it was red, now it's yellow. And so that's your real-time indicator of how much battery you have left. One thing I was finding, especially during night dives, this button can be a little bit hard to find. So you kind of have to drag your thumb across until you can feel it, no problem. Or you can kind of twist it until you see the light. So there's different ways I kind of found to find this light. And so this light will give you the indicator. If it's green, you have sufficient power that's greater than 60% of the battery. If it's yellow, then it's 30 to 60%. And so right now I have a yellow battery. Red means 10 to 30%. When it starts flashing red, then you have less than 10%. So ideally, if it's red, it's good to charge the battery before your next dive. And so one neat thing about this that I have to point out right away is it's a focused beam. This is a narrow beam light. So it has a 6-degree focus beam. And you can kind of see here when my hand is close, that spread of the light is very small. Of course, as the beam goes longer, it'll spread out from that 6-degree focus. But it's worth noting that 6 degree is pretty small, but it's fairly good. So one of the strong points of 6 degree is communication, being able to pierce through murky water, pierce through long distances. According to the specs, this should go 450 meters or about 1.5K feet away on land, supposedly. I have some shots of me kind of on the surface at night, kind of doing it, and it's not quite 450 meters. And I'm sure that comes from a laboratory environment. In the real world, you know, you probably get mixed results. So I did take this thing through the ringer. I took it on night dives, murky water, and some clear days as well. So I got clips of it all kind of using in different various conditions. And one nice thing I kind of found is because it's so light, you really don't need to grip it too heavily. You can kind of grip it like this. You can grip it like this. There's all different ways that you can grip it. Like heavier lights will kind of make your hands or arms sore by the end of the dive. That makes it super easy to use. Oh, and by the way, I should say out of the box, this does come with the wrist handle and of course the light, but it doesn't come with this clip. This clip is mine. I just put it on there so I don't lose it. I should also note that this video is not sponsored and it's my honest opinion of the dive torch, but OrcaTorch was so very kind to send this sample to me before they released it to give me a chance to do an early review and hopefully tell you all about the dive torch. And thank you, OrcaTorch, for allowing me to give a good neutral review on this dive torch. In terms of build quality and maintenance, this thing is very sturdy. So surprisingly, you can take this thing diving down to 150 meters or 492 feet. That is more than enough for recreational diving. It's beyond the recreational diving point. But what that generally means, you don't need to take this down that deep. It just means that it's built very sturdy. Anything with more than you need standards just really kind of shows the quality of pressure that this thing can hold before it potentially breaks. Everything's going to have a breaking point, and this thing's way beyond what you need. So it just shows that it's very durable for what you need it for. And that builds a mindset of quality and reliability you can trust. Of course, I haven't dove with it that deep and I don't plan to, but I'm not gentle on my dive torches, and this thing has gone through the ringer and not skipped a beat, aside from some small scratches on the nice finish. And it's worth noting that this is a nice aluminum alloy, which means it's a little softer, but it's also lighter. It should be resistant from corrosion, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't wash it off every single dive. It has 2 O-rings that you'll want to check up on. So if one fails, you'll always have the backup. And as long as you're checking on those every now and then, you should be fine because it has 2. It's redundant. But always just keep an eye on them and make sure they're glistening, and if they're not, put a little bit of silicone grease on them and check them for debris and such. And of course, I have some nice comparison shots kind of showing this torch versus some other torches and the different modes while diving that I'm happy to show here to give you truly a good idea of how it looks and functions across a number of different environments while I was diving. And also in a controlled environment, I compared it to my Big Blue 5200. Now this is 5,000 lumens, so it is quite a bit different, and it's not an apples to apples comparison. But for all my dive torch reviews, I just like to have some stable light that I use for every single review, and it's this one. So I also have a comparison shot showing on the wall how the different beams, this one has a much wider beam, this one's more narrow, but you can really see the difference between lumens and how that real focus beam can help pierce through a lot of murk. And what's really cool about the focus beam especially is how even with 3000 lumens, which 3000 lumens is quite bright, it looks so much brighter because it's so focused, which is really quite neat. It's 3000 lumens, but it feels quite a bit brighter than 3000 lumens, which is a pretty neat feature of the dive torch. Okay, so who is OrcaTorch ORCA7 for? At the price point of $150, this is a fairly competitive offering. Being so light, durable, and having the safety feature on the button makes this a very viable and very realistic backup torch. And honestly, it's great for communication. It can be great for night dives, and the small form factor makes it very easy to travel with. So these are all great benefits of it. And with a solid runtime at around 2 hours and 10 minutes tested in liquid cooling, it's worth noting this is a dive torch. So anyone finding this review outside of diving will note that obviously if you touch the top in the air, these things get hot and aluminum spreads the heat downwards. So these things are meant to be liquid cooled by design. So you might get different results out of the water. But with that said, with liquid, 2 hours and 10 minutes, fairly brand new. So that's pretty good. And they actually advertise an hour and 30 minutes at high. So 2 hours and 10 minutes is pretty outstanding. Obviously their numbers might be a little more conservative, but that's what I got out of the box with this thing. On high, it advertises 3 hours and 40 minutes on low. So if you're the kind of user that will bump this up to basically low, and it starts with low and then goes to high. So that's one nice thing that I particularly like. As you'll generally use it on low, unless you need high, then you can bump it up. But it's worth noting at high, you'll probably get about 2 dives in, but at low, you'll probably get about 3 or 4 dives in. But given the battery form, you can always have extra batteries and pop those in, so you don't need to necessarily charge in between dives. I like to generally just charge at the end of the day, at the end of one dive day when I'm back home, and overnight I can just charge all my equipment. So I usually like all my equipment to at least be able to make it through one dive day at like 3 or 4 dives a day. And being able to pick your own color and have a certain level of bling to your own outfit or style is definitely a nice quality for these things. So ultimately, this is a good buy for the price point and a very narrow beam light, great for communication and a backup light, even night dives. But it's worth noting, it's gonna be a very poor wide beam light for trying to film things in. So that's not its purpose, and also why it doesn't have any mounting options on the handle. That's a different purpose, but solid at communicating. So there you have it, the OrcaTorch ORCA7. If you're interested, I have a great deal for you in the description or pinned comment below. And if you use that link, it'll help support the channel. And if you're gonna buy it anyways, I really appreciate it. But if you found this review useful, I do have another video up here that will go through all the details of what to look at dive torches or dive lights in general. That will help you out with buying options. And if you're looking for other dive gear reviews, check out this list over here. The more you know, the more you'll love and protect the ocean. Until next time.